Lagos was loud and alive that evening. Honking cars, street vendors calling out, the smell of roasted corn in the air. Dami walked home from her long hospital shift, her scrubs wrinkled and her eyes heavy. All she wanted was a quiet night and a bowl of rice. But her phone buzzed. It was her younger sister, Ezen. "Big sis, please, I need a favor," Ezen said sweetly. "Just a few urgent things before the weekend. I'll pay you back, I promise." Dami sighed, balancing her bag on one shoulder. She knew Ezen's voice, that soft, pleading tone she used whenever she wanted something. Still, Dami had always been the responsible one, the helper. She remembered how their late father used to say, "You're the strong one, Dami. Always take care of your own." So she took out her wallet and pulled out her credit card. "Okay," she said firmly. "But listen, don't go over $500. It's rent week, and I'm already stretched." Ezen grinned through the phone. "Of course, sis. Just small things. You know me." And Dami did know her. Or at least she thought she did. She didn't see the glint of excitement in Ezen's eyes as she ended the call, already scrolling through Instagram boutiques. To her, that card wasn't a loan, it was a golden ticket. That night, as Dami washed her uniform and planned her next shift, Ezen was already adding designer shoes, wigs, and spa packages to her cart, whispering to herself, "I'll figure it out later." For Dami, it was just a simple favor between sisters. For Ezen, it was the start of something much bigger, and much worse. A week later, it was just another morning for Dami. She had just finished her night shift, her feet aching from standing for 12 hours straight. She made herself a cup of tea, sat on the small couch in her one-bedroom apartment, and opened her banking app, just to check if her rent money had gone through. But the moment the screen loaded, her heart dropped. Her balance was nearly empty. Her throat went dry as she blinked again, thinking it had to be a mistake. She scrolled through the transactions, 1, 2, 3, then more. Gucci, Zara, hair spa, a luxury nail studio, a designer bag store. It was endless. Her eyes widened as she whispered, $7,000? Her hands shook. No, 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 this can't be right. She grabbed her phone and dialed Ezen immediately. It rang twice before her sister's cheerful voice came through. "Hey sis. What's up?" "Ezen, what did you do with my card?" Dami's voice trembled between fear and anger. Ezen chuckled lightly. "Oh that. Relax nah. I just got a few things. I'll pay you back next month. You earn more than me anyway." Dami froze. "A few things? You spent almost $7,000, Ezen. That's my rent, my bills, everything." But Ezen didn't sound guilty. She sighed, almost irritated. "You're overreacting. It's not that deep. You're always working, always saving. Can't you just help your sister once?" Dami's chest tightened. She felt like she couldn't breathe. "Help you? You stole from me." "Don't say that," Ezen snapped back. "You gave me the card. How was I supposed to know there was a limit? You act like you're so perfect." Tears stung Dami's eyes. She looked around her tiny apartment, the cracked wall paint, the single fan spinning lazily above her head, her uniform drying by the window. Every dollar she had, she'd earned with sweat and sleepless nights. She whispered, more to herself than to Ezen, "Do you even know how many shifts I worked for that money?" Ezen's voice grew distant. "I said I'll pay you back. Gosh, you're so dramatic." Then she hung up. The silence afterward was heavy. Dami stared at her phone, her heart pounding. For the first time, she realized her sister didn't just cross a line, she destroyed her trust. As the kettle whistled in the background, she sat frozen, tears rolling down her cheeks. $7,000 gone. Her own sister did it, and she didn't even sound sorry. Dami didn't sleep that night. Her heart burned with anger, confusion, and hurt. By morning she'd had enough. She put on her jeans, grabbed her bag, and took the first bus to her mother's house in Surulere. Every bump on the road made her grip her phone tighter. $7,000. Her own sister. She couldn't believe it. When she arrived, she found her mother and Ezen in the living room, laughing over breakfast. The sight almost made her sick. "So you're here enjoying yourself while I'm drowning in debt," she said, her voice trembling. Her mother frowned, surprised. Dammy, what's this attitude? You just came in. Dammy threw her phone on the table, the screen glowing with a long list of transactions. Ask your daughter what she did. Ask her how she used my credit card to buy all this rubbish. Ezen's smile faded, but only for a second. Then she leaned back and said softly, "Oh, that. I told you I'd pay you back, didn't I? Pay me back. You think I can just lose 7,000 like that?" Dammy snapped, her voice rising. "You lied to me, Ezen. You said you needed urgent items. I trusted you." Before Ezen could respond, their mother stood up sharply. "That's enough, Dammy. She's your sister. Why are you shouting like this in front of me? You should be ashamed, embarrassing your family over money." Dammy's eyes widened in disbelief. "Mom, are you serious right now? She stole from me." But her mother folded her arms. "Don't use that word. You gave her the card. It's your own fault. You're the older one. Learn to let things go." Ezen suddenly burst into tears, covering her face dramatically. "I can't believe you're calling me a thief, Dammy. You told me it was okay. You said you wanted to help me." "What?" Dammy gasped. "That's a lie. I never." But her mother was already pulling Ezen into her arms. "Stop crying, my baby. Some people just love to make noise about everything." She glared at Dammy. "Why are you so obsessed with money? Is that how a good sister behaves?" Dammy stood there shaking, her voice breaking. "You're defending her. After everything I've done for this family." Neither of them answered. Ezen sniffled louder, peeking up from behind her mother's shoulder with a small, smug smile. In that moment, Dammy realized she wasn't just fighting for her money, she was fighting alone. Her mother had chosen sides, and it wasn't hers. As she walked out of the house, tears blurred her vision. She whispered to herself, "If my own blood can lie like that, then maybe I never had a family at all." Days passed, but Dammy couldn't find peace. She had stopped calling home and focused only on work, hoping the noise would fade. But one evening, during her lunch break at the hospital, her phone started buzzing non-stop. Her cousin's group chat, the family circle, was exploding with messages. At first, she thought it was just the usual gossip, until she saw her own name. "Dammy really did that to her own sister," one cousin wrote. "She's so heartless," another said. "Imagine dragging family over a few dollars." Then came the voice note from Aunt Ngozi, the loud, judgmental one everyone feared. Ezen said Dammy embarrassed her in front of their mother over a small misunderstanding. "I didn't believe it at first, but Dammy has always been proud. That girl forgets who helped raise her." Dammy's hands froze over her sandwich. Her heart pounded in her chest. "What is this?" She scrolled up and there it was. Ezen's long, emotional message. "I'm so hurt. My sister called me a thief and shouted at me in front of Mom. All because I borrowed a little money. I swear I didn't mean any harm. She treats me like I'm nothing just because she's successful." The chat was filled with sad emojis, comforting words, and prayers for poor Ezen. No one asked for Dammy's side. Not one person. She typed "that's not what happened" but stopped halfway. What was the point? They'd already made up their minds. Her aunt even tagged her in the group, writing, "Dammy, apologize to your sister. Family is everything. Don't let pride destroy your bond." Her phone wouldn't stop buzzing, message after message, all calling her cold, selfish, and greedy. Someone even posted a meme about big sisters who think they're gods because they have jobs. At the hospital, her coworker noticed her pale face. "Dammy, are you okay?" She forced a smile. "Just family drama." But inside she was breaking. That night, she cried quietly on her couch, scrolling through the hateful messages. It hurt more than losing the money. It was the betrayal of being painted as the villain by people who didn't even know the truth. Meanwhile, on social media, Ezen posted a picture of herself looking sad, with the caption, "Family can hurt you deeper than strangers ever could. Broken heart." Within hours, she had hundreds of likes and comments saying, "Stay strong, sis. And you deserve better." Dammy stared at the screen, her heart hollow. Her own blood had turned her pain into a performance, and the world was cheering for the wrong sister. By the next week, Dami thought she had seen the worst of it. Until one morning during her hospital shift, her coworker Amaka nudged her phone toward her with a teasing smile. "Ah, your sister is really living soft-o. Look at her page." Demi frowned. "My sister." She took the phone and her stomach dropped. There was Ezen on Instagram, posing beside a sleek car, holding shiny shopping bags and wearing a designer wig. Her caption read, "Hard work pays off, nail polish medium and sparkles." Dami's heart sank. She zoomed in on the photo and felt her throat tighten. The gold credit card in Ezen's hand looked painfully familiar. Her card. Her debt. Amaka chuckled, not realizing the pain she'd just triggered. "You're lucky to have such a rich sister." Dami forced a laugh and turned away, her eyes burning. The rest of the day she couldn't focus. Every beep of a monitor, every patient's call felt like noise against the storm in her head. By the time her shift ended, she had already seen 3 more posts. Fancy brunches, a spa trip, and another photo captioned, "When you hustle smart, not hard, winking face, money with wings." Dami's fingers trembled as she scrolled through the comments. Ezen's friends cheering, strangers admiring. Nobody knew the truth, that the hustle was stolen from her sister's sleepless nights and hospital overtime shifts. By the weekend the calls started coming. Unknown numbers, then official emails. Payment overdue. Immediate action required. Her credit card company froze her account. Her credit score plummeted. One evening, while washing dishes, her phone rang again. This time it was a debt collector. "Miss Dami, we need to discuss your outstanding balance. If payment isn't made soon, your account will be reported." Her voice cracked. "Please, just give me some time." When she hung up, she slid down to the kitchen floor and broke into tears. All her hard work, the savings, the trust, the pride she carried quietly, gone. She tried calling Ezen one last time. "You've ruined me, Ezen. Do you even care?" Ezen's voice was sharp. "You're being dramatic again. You'll be fine. Don't make this a big deal." That was it. Dami's heart hardened. "Don't ever call me again," she said quietly. She blocked her number, deleted her social media, and stopped answering family calls. For the first time in her life, she chose silence over fixing everything. But late that night, staring at her dark ceiling, the reality sank in. Her sister didn't just steal her money. She stole her peace, her name, and her good credit. And for Dami, that was the moment everything inside her finally broke. It was almost midnight when Dami sat alone in her small apartment, surrounded by unpaid bills. The room was quiet except for the ticking wall clock and the faint hum of her fridge. She hadn't spoken to anyone in days. Her credit was ruined, her savings gone, and her trust shattered. She scrolled aimlessly through her banking app again, not to check her balance, but out of habit. Then she noticed something. At the bottom of each purchase, there was a view receipt option. Curious, she tapped it. Suddenly, her screen filled with proof, store names, exact times and locations. Every transaction was listed under her name. Her pulse quickened. Wait. All this is linked to my account. For the first time in weeks, her tears stopped. She opened her laptop and began clicking through every store. Many offered digital copies of receipts, some even showing a signature line. And there it was. Ezen's name, messy but familiar, scrawled right where Dami's should have been. Her hands shook, not from fear this time, but from a new kind of strength. She started gathering everything: screenshots, receipts, bank statements. Hours passed, but she didn't stop. Her anger turned into focus. She made a folder on her computer and labeled it Proof. The next day, she went to the store where one of the biggest purchases was made, a luxury boutique in Victoria Island. The manager, a kind woman in glasses, listened carefully as Dami explained. Within minutes, she pulled up the CCTV footage. On the screen there was Ezen, smiling confidently, swiping Dami's gold card, and signing her name with pride. Dami's stomach twisted. It was her sister, bold as ever, acting like it was nothing. "Would you like a copy of this footage?" the manager asked gently. "Yes, please," Dami said, her voice steady for the first time in months. By evening, she had everything she needed: receipts, footage, and written proof. She tucked the files neatly into a brown envelope and stared at it for a long time. It wasn't just paper. It was justice. The next morning she walked into a law office downtown. The receptionist looked up. "Good morning, how can we help you?" Dami took a deep breath and placed the envelope on the desk. "I'd like to report a case of financial fraud," she said firmly. When the lawyer opened the folder and saw the details, he nodded slowly. "This is solid evidence. We can file this today." As she signed the papers, Dami felt something she hadn't felt in months. Peace. She whispered to herself, "You wanted to play smart, Ezen. Let's see how smart you really are." That night, for the first time in a long while, Dami slept soundly, knowing the game had finally turned in her favor. The morning started like any other for Ezen. She was dressed in her new silk robe, filming a "Get Ready With Me" video for her followers. Her ring light was on, the background music was soft, and she smiled into the camera like her life was perfect. "Good morning, my loves," she said, brushing her hair. "Always remember, confidence is the real luxury." But before she could finish her sentence, there was a loud knock at the door. Ring, ring, ring. It wasn't the delivery man's usual knock. It was firm, demanding. "Miss Ezen Okoro," a deep voice called. Her smile faded. She paused the recording, adjusting her robe nervously. "Who's asking?" "Lagos State Police. We have a warrant for questioning regarding a financial fraud report." Her heart skipped. "Excuse me. Fraud. There must be a mistake." Before she could react, two uniformed officers stepped inside. Her phone, still recording, caught everything: the shock on her face, the confusion in her voice. "Wait. What's going on? This is crazy. I didn't steal anything." Her neighbors began peeking out from their doors. Someone across the hall whispered, "Is that the influencer girl?" Phones were already recording. The officers spoke calmly but firmly. "Ma'am, you've been reported for unauthorized use of a credit card belonging to Miss Dami Okoro." At the mention of her sister's name, Ezen's face twisted. "What? My sister? No, she's lying. She's jealous. She set me up," she screamed as the officers guided her out. "Please, can I at least explain? This is a misunderstanding," she cried, but her voice trembled. Cameras flashed. One of her fans live-streamed the entire scene, captioning it, "Influencer Ezen arrested for fraud." Flushed face. Within hours, the internet was buzzing. Her followers flooded her page, some in disbelief, others mocking. Not the hard work pays off girl getting arrested. So the hustle was actually her sister's credit card. Unbelievable. Fake life everywhere. At the police station, the evidence spoke louder than her tears. Every receipt, every signature, and even the boutique footage showed Ezen swiping Dami's card and signing her name. When the officer slid the documents toward her, she broke down. "I didn't mean to steal. I thought she'd forgive me." The officer's tone was flat. "You used her card without consent. That's not forgiveness, that's fraud." Meanwhile, Dami sat quietly in her apartment, her phone lighting up with notifications. Her co-workers were texting links to the news. For the first time, the world finally saw the truth. She didn't smile, but a heavy weight lifted from her chest. It wasn't joy, it was relief. The same sister who humiliated her online was now being seen for who she truly was. And as the internet turned on Ezen, her once glamorous world came crashing down, not from hate, but from the truth she thought she could outrun. The next morning, Dami was folding her laundry when the pounding on her door nearly made her jump. Bang, bang, bang. Before she could even react, her mother's angry voice filled the hallway. "Dami, open this door right now." She sighed, already knowing what was coming. When she opened the door, her mother stormed in, face red with fury. "So it's true. You really called the police on your own sister." Dami stood still, her voice calm. "Mom, sit down, please. Let me explain." "Explain what?" her mother snapped. "You put your own blood behind bars. What kind of woman does that? I didn't raise you like this." Dami's heart ached. "Mom, I didn't put her there, she put herself there. She spent $7,000 of my money without asking." Her mother threw up her hands. So what? Money can be replaced. Family cannot. How could you shame us like this? Dami took a deep breath, trying to stay calm. Mom, I begged her to stop. I tried to fix it quietly. But she wouldn't listen. I lost everything, my savings, my credit, my peace. Her mother shook her head, tears forming in her eyes. You could have handled this privately. Did you have to ruin her name? Do you know what people are saying about our family now? Dami's voice broke slightly. People already ruined my name, remember? When she told everyone I was selfish and cold. Nobody defended me then. Her mother looked away, her lips pressed tight. She's still your sister. She made a mistake. Before Dami could respond, there was another knock at the door. This time softer but serious. She opened it to find her landlord standing there, holding a folded letter. Miss Dami, I'm so sorry, he said gently. But you're 3 months behind on rent. I've tried to be patient, but this is the final notice. You have 2 weeks to clear the balance or move out. Her mother turned sharply toward him. What do you mean behind on rent? My daughter works every day. Dami's voice was quiet. Mom, all my money went to paying off what your other daughter spent. The landlord nodded awkwardly and left, leaving the letter in Dami's trembling hands. The silence that followed was thick. Her mother's expression softened for the first time. She looked around the small, tired apartment, the unpaid bills on the counter, the half-empty fridge, the exhaustion in Dami's eyes. Her anger melted into guilt. Dami, I didn't know. Dami sat down slowly, her voice barely a whisper. You never wanted to know, Mom. You only saw her tears, never my struggle. Her mother didn't speak again. She just stood there quietly, the weight of truth sinking in. For the first time, she realized who had really been hurting all along, and it wasn't Ezen. Weeks passed like a slow storm finally clearing. Dami sat by her small kitchen window one morning, staring at her phone as the email came in. Case resolved, funds refunded. For a moment she just froze. After all the sleepless nights, the arguments, the tears, she was finally free. The bank had refunded every dollar through insurance, and the fraud charges were confirmed. Ezen had officially been found guilty of unauthorized use. Ezen didn't go to jail, but the court ordered her to complete 200 hours of community service. For someone who lived for attention, cleaning parks and handing out meals in silence was its own punishment. The influencer glow faded. Brands quietly dropped her name. Followers unfollowed. Her comment sections turned cold, filled with the same people who once praised her, now calling her a liar and a thief. Meanwhile, Dami began rebuilding her peace. She changed her passwords, closed old accounts and started fresh. Her new apartment was smaller, but it was hers. No one could touch her things, no one could steal her peace. She went back to work, walked home in the evenings with soft music in her ears, and began smiling again. A quiet smile but real this time. Their mother eventually called. Her tone wasn't sharp like before, it was heavy. She asked how Dami was doing, how she was paying rent, if she was eating properly. The same woman who once yelled, "You jailed your sister," now spoke gently, realizing what Dami had been through. The family whispers began to shift. Aunts who once sided with Ezen started saying, maybe Dami was just standing up for herself. One Sunday, Dami visited home for the first time in months. Ezen was there, sitting in the corner, wearing plain clothes with no makeup, nothing like her old self. The room went quiet as they locked eyes. For the first time, Ezen didn't defend herself, didn't roll her eyes, didn't call Dami dramatic. She just said softly, I messed up. Dami nodded slowly. She didn't gloat, didn't snap back. She simply said, I know. That silence spoke louder than years of shouting. It wasn't forgiveness, not yet, but it was a start. As Dami left that night, she looked up at the stars and whispered to herself, peace feels better than revenge. And maybe, just maybe, her sister finally understood that too. Months later, Dami stood in front of a small but cozy apartment she had finally bought on her own. The fresh paint still smelled new, and sunlight streamed through the windows, lighting up the empty rooms. This time it was truly hers. No shared bills, no stolen money, no chaos. She held the keys in her hand, turning them over and over, feeling the weight of what she had earned with her own sweat and determination. Her friend, Amaka, came over to help her move in a few boxes. She noticed the small, shiny keychain attached to the keys, shaped like a credit card. "Dammy, this is cute. What's that word engraved on it?" Dammy smiled softly, her eyes reflecting relief and quiet strength. "Boundaries," she said. "It's a reminder. I forgive, but I don't let anyone cross the line again. Not my sister, not anyone." Amaka looked at her, understanding. "So, you forgive her?" "Yes," Dammy said, taking a deep breath. "I forgave her, but I'll never fund her drama again." Her voice was calm, but it carried the weight of all the nights she had cried over stolen money, betrayal and lies. She walked into her kitchen and placed the keychain on the counter, letting the sunlight catch it. It wasn't just a keychain. It was a symbol of her hard-won independence, of her courage to fight for herself, and of lessons learned the hard way. For the first time in months, Dammy felt light. No more calls from debt collectors. No more fake smiles from her sister. Just peace, stability, and the quiet satisfaction of knowing she had finally taken control of her own life. She leaned against the window, watching the city buzz below, and whispered to herself, "This is mine, and this time I protect it. Always." Boundaries. One small word, but a lifetime of meaning.